Hey there, friend. Welcome to the Having a Mom Moment podcast. I am your host, Shannon Warner. This podcast is all about taking a few moments for yourself and reconnecting to the amazing woman behind the title of mom. You have so many plates spinning at any given time between your kids, your partner, your job, maintaining a household, etc., etc. But where does taking time just for you play into that? Let's spend some time together, you and me, right now. We're rebranding a mom moment to those sacred moments you take to fill your cup first. Let's connect, tune in, and tap into what makes us the incredible women that we are. We'll nurture ourselves first so we can be our best selves for those we pour into on a daily basis. We'll also bask in the beautiful wisdom of other moms to learn about the ways in which they've tapped into alignment in their own motherhood journeys. Come on, mama, it's your time. We're having a mom moment. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of the Having a Mom Moment podcast. I am your host, Shannon Warner, and I am so honored that you took your precious time to join us here today. Before we get into the episode, just a reminder that our 2024 Tune In and Tune Up workshop is underway, but it's not too late for you to join. The link is in the show notes if you're interested. No worries that you missed this week. If you join this week, you'll get the recording for this week, and then you'll be able to join us live for the remaining 3 weeks of the month. We're meeting on Monday evenings, and we're just hanging out in a really cool kind of slumber party vibe, except we get to go to our own beds afterwards, and we're going to tune in to where we're at, reflect on the year so far, reflect on the previous year, and then create a vision for where we want to go and start implementing small incremental shifts that are easy to sustain to help build a runway to a really beautiful 2024. So if it sounds exciting to you, I would love to have you. The link and the details are in the show notes, and it's not too late to join us. And bring a friend if you want to. We'd love to have you. This week, our guest is another Michele. We are in the middle of a Michele series. I've had Michele Keating the last 2 weeks, and next week I have another Michele for you, but this week is Michele Piskol. She's an educator of over 25 years who decided somewhere along the way to start improv comedy and has turned into this whole endeavor of a variety show and selling out shows. And it's really interesting how she's chosen to say yes to herself. She's going to tell us all about it and encourage us to live a say yes life. I hope you love the episode. Hi, Michele. Thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here as well. Thanks for having me on.
Michele and I were chatting just for a minute before we started recording, and although she is almost to Chicago, she is in Indiana, so she's kind of like this Midwest girl. Michigan bumps right up to Indiana, and so I feel kindred spiritness between us already.
Yes, an energy, a synergy. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. It's a whole vibe being in the Midwest, but
Yes, I agree.
yeah. So to get started, can we dive right into your own motherhood journey?
Sure. Oh my gosh. Well, I really have like two generations of children. I was a young mom in my first two. I had when I was a young mom, I was finishing up college, getting my teaching job. So I decided to be a teacher. And so those two were in a different phase of my life as a younger mom, as a no one gave me the book. I didn't know which book to go from to, it's just like, I'm just going to be a mom, like kind of like my mom was a mom, right? Just go by example. And then there was a gap of time before my second group of not students, but children. And my second group of children, now I was a different mom, right? I had experience raising these other two that lived and survived
Yeah,
through my mothering. And, then you have that teacher vibe in there. So, teacher moms are a whole different breed of moms many times.
I believe it.
So, my younger two had an experience kind of different than the older two because I was just a different mom. I had more experiences. I had, just done a lot of self-development myself, learning more about me and just life in general. So they got a different version of a mom, and they'll talk about that themselves when we get together on holidays and things like that.
That's so interesting. What was the gap between your younger of your older two and then your older of your younger two?
10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. As we were talking before, ours are almost 5 years apart, and it's not a 10-year age gap, but I have had enough time to reflect, and we are doing things a little differently this time.
Right, right.
I
So
can
that's like a
imagine.
decade of learning as a mom, and a
Yes.
decade of just growing and figuring out and knowing that I don't have to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. There's not even a perfect. So um, that I think was freeing for me.
Yeah, I love that. So, can we talk for a moment about being a teacher mom? I love this area. I was a classroom teacher myself, but I left the
Oh,
field before I had children, and I was always in awe of my colleagues who did all of this because teaching's a big load and
yeah.
then went home to their own children after caring for other people's children all day long. I don't know how they did it.
That was interesting because I taught different grade levels over time. And when my two younger ones, they were close together. They were like 2 and 3, 3 and 4, 4 and 5
Mm.
were like a year apart. So when I was a first grade teacher, so that was really tough for me. First graders are high energy. Boy, you better get good sleep and wear flat shoes and be
Yeah.
ready to go all day. And then when you came home, you're like, you have two toddlers at home. You better wear flat shoes, get a lot of sleep. And,
Oh my
so it was like I
gosh.
was on. I was like constantly on, go, 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 literally from waking to sleeping. And so those years were a little hard for me. And honestly, I ended up transitioning out of the classroom because I couldn't, it was just burnout. I was getting burnt out. It was like, constantly. Then they were in preschool, then they were in kindergarten, then they were in first grade when I was teaching first grade. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't do first grade anymore. I'm at home more.
24 hours a day.
Yeah. So I ended up being able to transition out of a classroom teaching job into an instructional coach job. So that gave me just that reprieve of like constant on time, constant like kids, kids,
Oh my
kids here and
gosh.
home and everywhere. So that really was a lifesaver for me that that opportunity came up and I transitioned out of a classroom because it was getting to be a lot with it just, yeah, on all day.
I can't begin to imagine. And that on all day piece is a part that, unless you've been a teacher, you
Yeah.
don't understand. And it's the constant decision making and the constant monitoring of 18 little bodies at once, maybe more. Yeah.
Right. Right. So, it's like, and just talking all day. You were just talking all day. Then you got home and your little ones would want to be talking all evening. And it's like, somebody stop this.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me with our first. I was like, I can't wait till she can like talk and we can have conversation. And my husband's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. And then she started and she's never stopped.
No, no, they're like on. There's like, is there a stop button on here?
I
Is
know.
there a stop button? Anybody where it's a plug, unplug it. And it wasn't. It came on, plugged in all day.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So when your second set came along, were you still in the education field or?
I was
Yeah.
still teaching because I ended up teaching over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a different time than now because now, it's well over 20 years now, but it was a supportive career choice for me because I got to be home all summer with them.
Yeah.
I got to be home all summer. I got to feel like I was a mom. I got to really be a mom, a stay-at-home mom, at least for summer.
Yeah.
And all the holidays and things like that. So when I look back at my career choice, it was an awesome, awesome choice for me. It just supported everything I wanted to do, which was be a mom and have a career.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. And then the hours too. Usually those are
Yeah,
much more, I mean, with the typical like quote unquote corporate job, you're at work until 5 or 5:30 or 6 and your
right,
kids are getting out of school at 3:30 and then there's all those pieces too. So
right.
I totally get it. And I'm still so in awe. Like I said, I left before I had kids and I don't know how I would have done it. I mean, I would have. You got to do what you got to do, right? But
Right, right.
mm. So what do you do now? You taught for
So
over 20 years. That's amazing. But what do you do
yes, it was
now?
actually over 25. We'll stop
Oh
at
my
that.
gosh,
But
that's
yeah,
incredible.
I was in a school district. I started straight out of college. So I started
Yeah.
young. And I am now still in the educational realm, and I work with school districts around the country with an assessment tool that helps students who do not speak English as their first language
Okay.
to get a pulse and monitor their acquisition of English so
Okay.
they can be successful in school. So
Very
that's
cool. How impactful.
it is rewarding. It really is. And I get to, it's just amazing. I knew it was time for me to kind of leave kind of the district level school setting and just kind of think about where could I work and what could I still do in education because that's where my heart is, but make an impact on a different level. And so that was then, instead of just going at a district level, at a school level, was kind of going nationally and working with districts around the country.
I know this is a podcast for moms, but because so many teachers are also moms, can we talk about that for just a moment? Because I know it's a really tough time right now to be a teacher in the States.
Yes,
I
yes.
know it. I'm still plugged into the community. I will always love teachers. And I know a lot of us go into the field going, this is all I want to do. This is all I've ever thought
Yeah.
about doing. And now it's not looking the way I thought it would, but I don't know where to go from here. What do I do if I don't teach?
Right, right. And I was at that point. I was at that point like, okay, I don't want to say I was burnt out, but I thought, okay, I did it and I made as much impact as I could make. I don't think I'm changing anything else here. So what do I
Yeah.
want to do now? And so teachers have amazing skill sets though. I'm going to tell you.
Yes.
Teachers have organizational skills, a lot of critical thinking skills, being able to pivot on the fly.
Yes.
They're really sought after in a lot of corporate settings that still have the flair of education around them, like assessment. There's a lot of different assessment companies and a lot of different assessments we give students. And so there's a lot of professional learning opportunities, being consultants with educational companies that are still, in that educational realm, and many times even in sales roles within those educational companies, because they know the perils of teaching and they've been there, they've walked in their shoes, so they're the perfect person to now come in and consult with them.
I
So
love that.
yeah, a lot that teachers can do.
It's hard to think about your skills outside of the classroom, but even on the sales piece, how many times are you selling content to students who are not interested, you know?
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah, you find a way to get them engaged. It is very similar to sales. Yeah, I hope if someone is teaching and thinking about what's next for them, that maybe they just, have some permission, feel some sense of permission to look outside your realm a little bit. And you're not letting anybody down by leaving.
Oh,
You're not, discrediting your experience or all your education, because I know there's so much education that goes into it. I've got 2 degrees I don't use, and it took me a lot of time and inner work to give myself the permission to move forward in a new space.
right, right. And
Yeah.
it does sometimes hurt my heart a little bit because it is a tough time. It's a tough
Yeah.
time. COVID was a tough time. Post COVID is a tough time. We have a teacher shortage in so many districts, especially urban districts around the country, that it's tough. So it's like I have options. I don't have to stay here. And so a lot of times districts are pulling in people who aren't as qualified as teachers who chose to go into the field originally. And so we are kind of in a tough spot in a lot of districts that are looking for highly qualified teachers to be in the classrooms with students. And so that's a challenge.
Yeah, and a lot of the issues at hand are a lot bigger than you can fix on the individual level. So don't internalize that. Everyone will survive if your best choice for you is to step aside. And there are still young teachers who are excited about going into the field. There will still be fresh bodies. I don't
Yeah.
know how long they'll stay, but that's also not your problem. Like, you need to make the
Right.
best choice for you, especially if you're a mom, because you've got other little people relying on you.
Yes, yes. And they rely on you for more than just the income that you're bringing in. They rely on you to be a whole person and you to
Yeah.
be a calm and nurturing soul to them, right? So they do
Yeah.
a lot more than just financial
Yeah. Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, thank you for speaking to that and sharing all that because it's so close to my heart. I still have some friends in the space, and I'm just like, I'm rooting for you. But also, if you want to leave, let me show you how skilled you are, in
Yeah,
so many ways, because I don't want you to pigeonhole yourself into this one. And then they get into the space of, well, I've done it for so long. What will I do? People
right.
pivot all the time, and so can they. So, yeah. We love teachers.
Yes, there are special people. I'm telling you, and I had a family of teachers, so it was kind of like
Mm,
that was almost the logical step, and it was a fabulous
great.
one. So I don't
Yeah.
know. So,
Yeah. So you had shared a little bit about living a yes life. Can we talk about that? I think this is a good segue, like let's
yes,
step away from the things that don't serve us. Let's live a yes life.
yes. So when you when I have done a job or had a career for so long, you almost can be on autopilot. And you can say, I know how to teach first grade. I've taught first grade for 15 years. I know what comes tomorrow, what comes the next day. So for me, I like sort of that challenge and I like learning. And so I thought, okay, so I wasn't ready to transition out of education. And I thought, well, what could I do to like have fun? The kids are bigger, nobody's in diapers, everybody's potty trained.
Yeah.
I can have a little bit of me time here. So what could I do that would be like exciting, like that could just be like, yes, right? And so I decided with another teacher friend of mine to go to Second City and take improv classes.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was hilarious and it was so much fun. But the bigger sort of learning experience than to go to Second City Improv was the premise of improv is yes and.
Mm,
So what you do is, you're a group of people that don't even know each other. Only she and I knew each other. Everybody else is kind of strangers. And it's a troop of people that come together who happen to enroll in the same class at the same time as you. And there's about 16 people, I think, that were in our class at the time. And you just learn how to interact with strangers by that whole premise of yes, whatever you say. Let's say somebody throws out from the audience, a scene at the beach, and whatever they're throwing out there, and you just begin to build this scene with perfect strangers by yesing their idea and building on it. And so what I took away from that experience was that's really life, right?
mm,
Life is, if you have the mindset to be a yes person, in the sense that yes, I'll try that, yes, I'll be open to learn that or meet you or do this. If you yes and people, life is amazing. It really is. So you just get so much more out of it by taking that whole sort of improv foundation of yes and. So living a yes life is jumping out of that teaching career for me, right? It took me a little bit longer after improv class, but jumping out of that teaching career and be like, what, say yes to yourself, say yes to trying something else. It was scary. That's all I knew. That was my job straight out of college for over 20 years. And it was um it was fun though. You have to think about, is life just about going to work and coming home and being a mom, and we don't get enough slivers of fun time for ourselves as a mom sometimes, right?
right.
Especially if you're a working mom. So just building in yes moments to your life, and what's fun, what can I do that doesn't compromise my whole, family structure, routine, and
Yeah.
everything that I have, but gives me enough excitement to be excited about waking up in the morning, right?
Mm. So important. Oh, this really resonates for me. And that's why I love this podcast so much, is because, the messages are so beautiful, but every time someone is speaking directly to my soul, I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you. I got what I needed today. But I definitely felt that way when I was like in the thick of, I had just had my second daughter and I'm working and I'm doing all the things. And I'm like, I don't hate life, but I'm not excited about anything anymore. And I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day over and over
Yes.
and over again.
Yes. It can get that way really fast,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Especially um during COVID when we were in the house and we really couldn't go out and we really couldn't do too many things. And even after that, I'm not sure if everything for everybody picked up the same way as it was pre-COVID, but just looking for those opportunities. And sometimes I think being introspective enough to say, okay, why am I feeling a little funky right now? I'm feeling a little funky maybe because I don't have enough newness in my life or enough
Mm-hmm.
newness in my day, or maybe I need to change my routine. What can I do to get that yes, like be excited in the morning? It's almost like having that kindergarten energy.
Yeah.
They don't know what they don't know, and they're just excited to come to school, and they're just like, you know. And so I always want to harness that kindergarten energy, and that's just the amazing energy of, yes, I'll try it.
Yeah. I love that so much. Yeah. And think about your kids and how they're just like after like the next most stimulating thing. They're like, cool, what's that? Let's go. And it's hard to get trapped in the mundane. And I think even if you're well rested, it like and eating the right foods and caffeinating, like it's still such an energy drain to like just have to show up and live the same day
Yeah.
over and over and over again, especially if there's a job that you're not super passionate about in the mix.
Right. And so that's why it's almost like we have to look, our job is just a moment in time of our life,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
when we get to be older and we look back and we think like, wow, I spent a lot of time there. I spent more than half my life teaching, right? But sometimes we don't want to wait till it's us looking back with any regret. It's just in the moment. What could I do now that I want to do? Because tomorrow's not promised, right? So what can I do
Right.
today
Right.
that will give me a little sprinkle of joy? That'll make me smile. That'll make somebody else smile, maybe, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. And it's like the littlest things too. You don't have to like, oh gosh, now I have to go find a new hobby. It's like, no, what is the one thing that sounds interesting right now? And I know myself, I got to a point where I was like, I don't even know what I like anymore. I have no idea. But I feel like when you like open the receptors and you're listening and looking, you might find something where you're like, okay, yeah, I could give that a try.
Right. And I think as in the stages of our momness, right? We have stages of momness. Oh my gosh, when they're
Yeah.
a toddler and we're trying to potty train them, it's all about them, right? And then
Yeah.
they get a little bit older and then they can maybe play by themselves or play with their siblings and you get a little bit more minutes of time to yourself. Well, then we come to a time eventually where they're going to graduate from high school.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to college and maybe they're going into the trades, or it's time for them to figure out who they are. Well, then if we tie our total identity to being that mom, then what do we have?
Yeah. Oh, that's so huge what you said right there. Do you think because you've been doing these things along the way and now that your kids are older that you're in a good place that you haven't sunk your identity into motherhood 100%?
I have no. No, but I think I've been a mom for so long that it is, I am in a transitional point, but thank goodness I did do things outside of the box of being
Yeah,
a mom, like go to Second City Improv. Most moms aren't putting that on their agenda to do, right?
right.
And so I think having those kind of moments along the way helped me realize that I can't totally lose myself in being a mom.
Yeah.
There is a me, and when they're older and they leave me to go do their thing, go to school, go to college, decide to move in with roommates, or whatever it is, I'm still left with myself, right?
Yeah.
So I have to be happy with myself and be able to say, what's my next adventure, right? What am I doing next? What do I want to try?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually had a conversation earlier today with someone else as a guest on their podcast, and we were talking about working moms and things. And it's similar thread, but like with your career, you've got to be happy with you because at some point that whole thing can be stripped away from you. All it takes is, a couple of bad months in a company and you're laid off and you're everything that you've worked for with that company is no more. And what's left?
Right. So it's kind of your identity, whether it's a
Yeah.
job as a teacher forever and ever, or my role as a mom. And it's almost like I've been doing a lot of listening to podcasts and reading and different things like that, because along the way, those have been my passions. But it's almost like we have to have a conversation with ourselves, and we have to like come home to ourselves. It's like, who am I? What am I? What do I want to do? What do I want to bring to the world aside from being a mom and aside from having a job?
Yeah. Yeah. And we're so multifaceted. There's so much more to us than that. Those are just the biggest hats that we have to wear throughout the
Right.
days and weeks. Yeah.
Right.
I totally hear that. And it's a journey. I've been on it myself. It is a journey. You're not going to get the answers in one weekend of
Right. Right.
of deep dive feeling things. I love that though. What beautiful encouragement and permission to go out and find the things that light you up. We need
Yes.
it.
Yes. And you know what?
Mm.
Try it. Maybe you like it. Maybe you don't. What's next? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be improv because that would not be my thing. I give you so much credit. I know as a teacher, you're probably so used to performing in a sense, but like without a script of any kind, no, thank you.
Right. Right. With no lesson plans, right? You had no lesson plans.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really fun. Just imagine if you start following the breadcrumbs, like where it might lead you. Like it led me to this whole podcast, like never was this on my radar. You just never know.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Well, then, and the improv and all of that then led me to co-host a comedy-based variety show that
Oh,
so I have a partner in the comedy show. It's called Tom Foolery Fun Club, and we've been doing that for 10 years now,
oh my gosh.
your anniversary. So it was
That's
just like
amazing.
yes, we were talking one evening, we were out and we were talking, and I just said, if money was not an object, what would you be doing? And he was kind of sheepish, and he was like, I said, no, really, just what would you be doing? And he said, I always thought about having a comedy show. It's like, why aren't we doing that? Boom, just go with it.
Oh my gosh.
So I took his idea, I yesed it, and then yes, and.
Oh. Could you take us through the abridged version of like the inception of the idea to how you got 10 years into this?
Yeah, so I always loved tech stuff. I always would learn tech stuff through school, and I'm just a natural learner. So I said, why don't we do this? So we asked an owner of a pizza parlor if we could use their back room and have a comedy show. And he's like, well, what do you know about comedy? And we're like, nothing, but we want to try a comedy show. And he's like, sure, go at it, have it. So I set up all the back end stuff, like a quick little website, an Eventbrite. We started posting on social media, creating all the social media, and we just put it out there. We just started putting it out there. Well, we knew that we could hold about 70 people in the room, and we sold the tickets out so fast within like 2 days that we
Wow.
added another show. We asked the comedians, would you do another show right after that one? And they're like, sure. And
Wow.
so we then sold out two shows on the first night
Oh
of us
my
doing this.
gosh.
And it wasn't as fabulous all the way through. All the way through the 10 years, there were some growing pains, right? Because um, that happened to go really well. And then we learned a lot along the way about business, about marketing, about working with a partner in a business. And so then we began to just get our roles and know, okay, I'll take care of these kind of things, you take care of these kind of things. And I still had my day job.
Yeah.
I still had my day job, and I was still a mom. Right. So we just, when we want to do something, we just find the time and the means to do it.
Yeah.
So, yep. So we had started having like a lot of shows just to build the brand. And then we realized quantity doesn't always matter, it's quality. And so we started to just change our business model. So it was just being really observant along the way, what worked, what didn't work. And then, so now what we do is we do fewer shows, but they are selling out every time because
Oh my-
we figured out how to pace them and not oversaturate the market. And so we have sold out shows. We have a lot of fun. We do it mostly so we could have a show and we could be,
Yeah.
part of it. So we just MC it. We don't actually do any of the comedy. We get comedians from Chicago because we're situated right here in the Chicagoland area. We get comedians from Chicago and some other ones from sprinkled around the country. And it's amazing because you get to see them hone their craft and grow over time. So over the 10 years that we've been doing this, some of them are like on HBO specials now
Oh
and on
my
cruise ships. And
gosh.
it's just like, it's almost like I feel like, oh my gosh, you were my first grader and now you're all grown up.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's probably very similar to that student
Yeah.
teacher dynamic. That is incredible. Congratulations. That's
Thank
so
you.
amazing on so many levels. But can we go back to the piece where you're like, I was doing this and I was momming and I was still working a full-time job. What
Yeah.
does I know you make the time for the things that you love, but like what does that really look like balancing all of that without losing your mind?
Right. So there were some late nights, staying up late nights because I was a very like I was that teacher mom. I was like, we have a routine. We come home and we eat dinner and then we do our homework and then you're taking your bath and then we're reading our story and then you're going to sleep.
Yeah.
So they were usually in sleep, asleep and in bed by 8:30. So then I had 3 hours to hurry up and clean up the house, get ready, take a shower, relax myself, and then work on some social media, work on some videos because I would do, recap videos or videos to promote the shows. And so it was working later at night, working weekends, all around the momming and the day job.
Mm,
It had to happen.
yeah. Wow. But it's happening after your kids go to sleep. So
Yeah.
your kids don't feel anything being taken away from
No.
them. And I'm sure if it's something you're excited about, then you do have the energy to work on it after hours.
Right,
Yeah.
right. There were some mornings that I'd wake up and be like, it is not time to wake up yet. But
Yeah.
but obviously I survived. Here I am 10 years later and it's been just so much fun, right? We have
Yeah.
opportunities and why not take them? And our tagline is fun is the only option.
I love that. Writing that down. Oh my gosh. No, really. Like, what if we started showing up in our lives that way? Like,
Yes,
you can still have fun and still meet all the obligations, of working and paying the bills and taking care of your children. Oh, that's
yes.
a whole
Squeeze it
thing.
in, sprinkle it in.
I love that so much. Do you find yourself thinking that in your day to day?
I do. I like to like in the morning kind of do a little meditation and think about things um and be purposeful in my day as much as I can be. Sometimes it goes off the rails, but
Yeah.
I try to be. And then at night I try to reflect on, okay, this is what I wanted my day to look like. How close was this to my day? And what could I do differently? Could I have controlled my schedule better? Could I have said no more, even though I'm miss yes and sometimes no is a good thing.
Yeah.
And so I just try to reflect and I always look at the night before, like what's on my agenda for tomorrow, what's a must, like I have to do it, and then where do I sprinkle in the fun.
I love that. Even with all the things, all the responsibilities and the extracurriculars, we're starting to dabble in that space. It's like
Yes.
there is still time to sprinkle in the fun. I love that. Looking at your day the night before and think, where can I sprinkle in the fun?
Yes. Yes.
We would all be so much happier. I
I
think you could
know.
like solve most of the world's problems by what you just said right there. Oh
Sprinkle it
my
in, right?
gosh.
Sprinkle it in, sprinkle it on.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. Do you think your children have seen that enough with you doing that as their mother that they're adopting a similar mindset?
You know what? They are. And I try to be, like I said, since I had two sets of kiddos,
Yeah,
I have learned because I'm an ever evolving person myself, right? Ever
right.
evolving. Like you said, it's a journey. It's not like I'm here, I made it. It's a journey. So with my older daughters, because my two older are daughters, we have conversations about it. And I'm still like in teachable moments with them. And then my
Yeah.
two younger that just graduated from high school, still in teachable moments, but I could talk all day. It's what I'm doing that they're watching, right?
Right.
So they see that and they see the comedy show. They've been to the comedy shows. They've helped with the comedy shows, getting things set up for them and all that kind of stuff. So they see that, wow, mom has a job and then mom has fun.
Yeah.
And it could happen. Look, it's happening, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's more of what we show them versus what we tell them that they're going to
Hmm.
pick up on.
Hmm. I want to be you when I grow up. Like you've just given yourself so much permission to
Yeah.
choose you every day, and it's so powerful.
Yes, it's and we can't, like, people say, oh, it's a work-life balance or it's a mom life balance. It's, when is anything balanced, right? It's
Right.
really not a balance. I like to say it's a
Mm,
blend or a flow, right? It's a flow. Just think of yoga and a
yeah.
flow. It's a flow. It's ever changing, ever evolving, and just a flow. Sometimes life as a mom has to take over and spend more time, and sometimes work day might have to spill over and spend a little time. But if we are just conscious of that, we can make it flow better.
Mm, I love what you just said. And I think so many working moms are trying to chase the idea of work-life balance. Oh, then I've made it. But if it's truly like not attainable most of the time, we're chasing failure. We're chasing an opportunity to let ourselves down.
Right, right. Just to not be happy, right? Because it's
Yeah.
something you're chasing. Who wants to be chasing all the time, right?
No.
I just want to be. I want to be
Yes.
right now, not do.
Oh,
We're do all the time. But if I take more time to be and just say, wow, you know what? It's so quiet right now. I'm just going to be quiet with myself for the moment, right? And that could be
yeah.
amazing sometimes, right? Just to give
Yeah.
yourself that slow down and pause.
Mm. It is something that a lot of us have to learn. I have not met anyone yet who intrinsically knows how to do that. And you and I, experience a container together. So I know we are of a similar mindset, but it is a practice to pause and be, especially when you know that your to do list is 3 miles long
Right.
and you know your kid needs new shoes tomorrow because they poked
Right,
holes in
right.
them today. It's like we're such a culture of like output and productivity that it's hard to find the value in the bee, but it is probably one of the most valuable things you can do.
Yes. And even I started doing it in moments, just in moments.
Mm,
And just then remember, how did that feel when you just did that for a couple minutes? Oh my gosh, that felt so good. And then just lengthen that amount of time a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And then I just made it a practice at the beginning of my day.
yeah.
Start my
Yeah.
day with some practices that calm me and put me in the right mood. Just like we pick out clothes, right? We pick out clothes. Why don't we pick our mood?
Mm,
Why don't we
so
pick
good.
our motivation for the day? Let's pick, I want to pick the mood I want to be in today. I want to be happy, and I want to let things that don't matter just run off me like a raincoat.
So good. You're right. So much of it does not matter in the next day. And I think a lot of us get in a cycle of like, well, I felt crappy yesterday and work was terrible. And then I came home and the kids were a whole separate issue. And then today's going to be the same way. And it's like, you sometimes have a hand in perpetuating that if you are not choosing a different path for your beliefs about your day.
Right? How do you come into your day?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, I've
People,
noticed that impacts me. And
yeah.
every day's not perfect, believe me. Some
Right.
days it's like,
Right.
oh, but
Right.
it's, we have choices, and how we
Mm-hmm.
react to our day is one of our choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So good. And if you feel yourselves like in the pit of despair, like you don't have to go from like everything is awful to, oh my gosh, everything is sunshiny and there's rainbows and birds are singing and I'm in a Disney movie. Like you can make little steps up the ladder, to progress to feeling slightly better and it'll
Yes,
change everything.
yes.
Mm.
And one of those things that I do, I know it sounds so funny, but um, when I was pregnant with my youngest, I would watch Grey's Anatomy. Then when she was born, it was like, okay, no more TV. There's no more TV. We don't have time for that. And then during COVID, or right before COVID, her friend gave her this like tumbler that had all this Grey's Anatomy stuff on it. And I said, oh, tell me about that. Where did you get that? And she said, oh, my friend made this and gave it to me. And I said, that's Grey's Anatomy. She goes, yeah, mom, we're watching it on Netflix. It's like, oh, stop it. So
Oh,
during COVID, we had this bonding moment of watching Grey's Anatomy, all the 16, 17 years of it
wow.
during COVID. And so, and part of that, they do a dance it out. like to like lift their mood and lift their spirits. In some of the episodes, Meredith and Christina and all the gang will just turn on music and just dance it out. And honestly, nobody sees you when you're home alone. Usually, I my job has me working from home a lot. Sometimes when I'm just sitting too long, or I feel like, oh, I just turn on some music and I just dance it out. Nobody's watching anyway.
Yeah.
And it does. The movement
So
just gets you
good.
like, oh, okay, I feel better now.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes there's stagnant energy in your body that you just need to like shake out, like literally just shake it out, whatever you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. More just giving yourself permission. And I think a lot of us sometimes like don't want, oh, that feels silly. Whatever. What else you got to do?
Right, right. Who's watching? You're home alone, probably.
Right.
Nobody's watching. Nobody probably cares anyway, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. If all we have was today, what made you happy
Yeah.
today, right?
Yeah. And I think not to be morbid, but realizing that tomorrow really is not guaranteed. And I know sometimes you have todays that you do not want to repeat, but
Right.
my dad passed at the end of 21 and he was 67, which, is more time than a lot of people get, but is relatively young.
Yes.
I think, and I feel like he got robbed. I feel like he got robbed of, what should be like the best part of his life where he would get to just revel and everything he worked for. And he only got a couple years of that and then he was gone. So like not to scare anybody, but it's like you realistically you may not be here for another 50 years. You may not be here for another 30 years. Like what if today and right now is all you have?
Right. Right. And all
Mhm.
we have is today, right? Because every day we say, oh, tomorrow becomes today.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
every time we talk about tomorrow, it never comes, it begins and blends right into today, right? You wake up, it's like tomorrow is today. So we have today. And so, and I try to do this with my own children, is talking about the bright side, talking about um, you know, okay, so this didn't turn out the way you want to. That's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. What can we do to change the outcome or have a different path? Sometimes things didn't happen because they weren't supposed to happen that way. So now
Yes.
what path do I need to look down or go down to just shift to get where I want to be, right? Our
Mm.
end goal is, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? So my two that just graduated, it's like, I don't tell them, you have to go to college, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's like, what do you want to do? You have a little bit of
Mm.
time to explore right now.
Yeah.
Pick something that's going to make your heart smile and be like, yes, I can't wait to go to work today. I can't wait
Yeah.
to. And when it doesn't, and when it's not that way anymore, you have a choice.
Yeah. That's exactly the way that I hope to be in, well, I guess in about 12 years now, when that time comes. But giving them the same permission that a lot of us did not find until later. How many
Yeah.
years did we live trying to like live up to somebody else's expectation or like following the path, the planned path for us or, checking the boxes? That's not what it's about.
Right. Because then you check the boxes and then what? You're still there, not happy many times.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what beautiful permission you're giving them. Like, thank you so much because those are the people who will be entering the workforce before
Yeah.
so long that we'll get to interact with soon. And I hope it creates a beautiful snowball effect that other people feel that it is safe to subscribe to. For my dad, he wanted the best for me and he was so proud of me. And I remember him telling me when I was 5, you're going to college. I'm like, I don't know what college is. He's like, you're going, that was a
Right.
checkbox for him, for his kid to go to college.
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now I've got 2 degrees that I don't use,
Right.
It's like, I mean, I'm glad I made you proud, but yeah,
Right.
sometimes we got to get out of our own way.
Right. And that's what I think for them. I'll ask my son, because he told me right in about middle school. He goes, Mom, I just want to let you know, I don't think I'm going to college. I said, that's okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. You find what you want to do. You want to start a business? Let's think about it. What do you want to do? What excites you? Try something.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
want to go into a trade, you like to use your hands, you like to do things. Let's explore. Which one do you want to do? So I think too many times we make our kids anxious by thinking like, okay, there's a timeline. And when I feel myself getting anxious when I'm trying to share with them, it's like, pause,
Oh,
pause, because you're feeling it. So what are you giving to them? You're giving them the same feeling
right.
because you're
Right.
coming from that place, right?
Right. Yeah. And in the end, we all end up okay.
Yes.
Even if it's not what we envisioned, we all end up okay.
Right, right, right.
Oh my gosh. You sound like such a fantastic mom. Your kids are so lucky to have you. Ah,
Thank you. Thank you.
I
Some days are
love
probably
it.
like, oh my gosh, could I get another mom somewhere else? But every
That's
day is
only
like, oh,
normal, right?
yes, yes. But no, but I do. One thing that just makes my heart smile is like Mother's Day, birthdays. I always tell them, you know what? Don't buy me things. You don't have to buy me things. I want time with you. I want time with you. The stuff that you buy me is gonna, where is that gonna end up? I don't even know.
Yeah.
We did have a family member pass away, and we were kind of going through some things just a couple months ago, and it was like it was eye-opening for me to think that okay, they might have cherished this, but everybody else is looking at it
Oh my gosh.
have that same attachment. It's like
Yeah.
I'll put it in the Goodwill bag. It's like
Yeah.
so it's like I don't want things. I want time and memories and you
Yeah.
with that's what I want. I don't want it's okay if you want to buy it's not that's not my love language. I don't want things to be my love language. I want time, memories, and that to be what I have.
Yeah, that really resonates. Having to clean out my dad's house. He was a single man and lived by himself for a long time and never threw anything away. And it was so overwhelming, one. And it was painful because I was like, he's gone. What was meaningful for him? What still holds meaning for me? And I
Right.
think we took some tools and things because that was practical. I'm not going to get rid of a perfectly good lawnmower, but like when it came down to it, I walked away with a couple of storage tubs out of his entire lifetime, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah. It's not about the stuff.
No, no, it's not. And that was eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
It was eye-opening for me. And I just had a birthday after that happened. And it was like,
Mm,
no, no stuff.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
want let's eat together. Let's take a ride together. Let's,
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. This has been so juicy. So, I have a few questions I like to ask all of my guests. First, what didn't you expect motherhood to change or shake up in you?
I thought with the first set of kids, like I am the boss. I get to be the queen of this house. And then I realized that isn't the plan. They're teaching me as much as I'm teaching them
Yeah.
if I'm open to learn.
Yes.
If I'm open, I've learned so much from them and just how to react with the world through them.
Mm. So beautiful. And I so agree. And I will add to that, I firmly believe your children are picked for you specifically. And I think it's a lot of time for us to learn from.
Yes. Yes,
Mm,
I have. I've learned so much. And that was not the plan in the beginning. It's like you're the mom, you set the rules, you do, 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 do.
yeah.
And somewhere along the way that changed.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's survival. I was a very like, okay, my mom or dad says this is what I do. I'm not going to push it. And I did not get that kid. And she's so amazing, but she is so throwing everything I thought motherhood was going to be on its head.
Yes. Yes. It's like, and like you said, we didn't get the book. It's like the book, and when you have two, you get to compare and contrast them, right? This one might be
Yes.
a certain way, and it's all by itself. So it's perfect because they don't have to fight with anybody. They don't have anybody else around them. Then you get two, and it's like, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't throw
This
a
is
puppy in there. Don't throw a puppy in there. That just adds to everything.
it's so funny that you said we have two neighbors who just got puppies and they each have three children and they're both just like, "Oh my gosh, what did we do?"
Yeah. Yes, that throws everything to the
Oh
wind.
my gosh, totally. Oh. If you could give one piece of advice to another mother at any stage in the motherhood journey, what would it be?
That's a good one. I think this piece could transcend all the stages from infancy to toddler to kindergarten to graduating high school to adulthood. It would be to take care of yourself first, kind of like the put the oxygen mask on first. I know some people are like, oh, but put yourself in a place to be as whole as you can be, because they look to you and they need you, and you can only be as good as you let yourself be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I came fragmented sometimes. I came all hurried and bothered. And then I look back and I think, those weren't my best years as a mom. It was when I paused and thought like, okay, what are you feeling right now? How is this going to help anyone else around you? Okay, let me take a minute and let me come to this situation a little bit more whole, whether it's cooking dinner, whether it's getting everybody settled before bedtime. It's almost check in with yourself, check in with
Mm-hmm.
yourself
Mm-hmm.
and see how you're feeling. Stop and think about, what am I feeling right now? Am I stressed? Am I tired? Okay, I still have to get through the rest of the couple hours before it's bedtime. So what can I do to come into this moment a little better?
Yeah, so powerful. And it's important to realize that sometimes you are the only one looking out for you. And it's not to be negative or that people don't care about you, but your kids have their own interests in mind and they need you. And your partner is in the thick of it with you and is like, okay, I gotta eat. I gotta make sure I'm rested too. So
Right.
yeah, you gotta take care of you. You may have told us this already, but how do you reconnect to yourself and motherhood? It could be now that your kids are older, or if you want to reflect on, earlier when you were quote unquote in the thick of it with doing all
Right.
the things.
Right. How do I connect? Well, I think along the way in the different phases, I was a person that was a connector to other people. So when they were maybe little, I might have had other moms that we could just talk about things. So it's like, okay, I'm not the only one having this
Mm,
problem, right?
mm-hmm,
And then, so that was kind of along the way, is having support systems of other people who could relate to what you were going through and things like that. And then also just being able to, I think sometimes when we give support to other people, we feel good, right? When we give, we
mm-hmm.
also receive. And so I know doing that with a lot of, still to this day, with a lot of my friends who were moms from when they were like in kindergarten, and we're still kind of staying connected through the journey of momhood, is supporting other people. I think that kind of gives me a little bit of a lift as well.
That's so good. Yeah, I've found I have a friend who just had her first baby, so this is, very new territory for her. And I find that sometimes the things I'm telling her, I need the reminder
Right,
myself.
right, right. So
Yeah.
when I'm telling them, oh, you should blah, 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 and it's like, that was really good advice, Michelle. What about you taking some of that?
Right? Yeah, and then actually doing that when you hear yourself.
Right. I thought that sounded really good. You should really listen to what you just said. That was really good advice.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. It's just like such a habit of motherhood, though. You're just so used to like taking care of the other people and then going, wait a minute, wait, I need that too.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm. This is, yeah, another recurring theme that I noticed. Like on the weekends, if we're trying to leave the house, I make sure everyone else is fed. And 9 times out of 10, I get in the car and we're pulling out the driveway, and I was like, I didn't eat. I didn't take care of me.
Yes, yes. It'll be like, okay, you have this, you have this, you have, everybody's got their stuff. Okay, let's go. And then it's like, oh, you know what? I didn't even get my own, grab my own thing.
Yeah. 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 So true. Oh, that's motherhood. And that's why we have to prioritize and say yes to ourselves and give ourselves all the permission. So good. This has been so fun. Can you please tell us where people can find you, where you're active, what are you up to?
Yes, I like Instagram. So at Instagram, I'm at a underscore yes underscore life. So a yes life, you'll find me
Perfect.
there. And sometimes I put things up, sometimes we're so busy at the comedy shows that it's like, oh my gosh, I forgot to take pictures. It just gets so fun
Yeah.
to be sitting there and just watching everything happen. So sometimes there's pictures of the comedy shows up there. And I try to put out, just positive messages. It's like, why not? Why not put out positive vibes, right? Everybody needs it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then I'm not your person, right? That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm also on Facebook, Michele Piskol. I have a Facebook page, so you can find me on Facebook. And I'm going to be starting a podcast soon. Yeah.
Yay.
So look for that on social media, on Instagram and Facebook as well.
That's so exciting. Can we talk a little bit about what the podcast is going to be about?
Sure. So it's going to be, I'm still playing with the name, but I think it's going to be called Living a Yes Life.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be interviewing people who might have a day job, but they're just doing something that's just like lighting them on fire, like
Yeah.
hair on fire. I am so excited about what I'm doing. It's not my day job, but that's okay. And just sharing how that has brought more joy to their life and how
Mm,
they could really help other people build that joy into their life.
I love it. It's going to be so good. Do you know roughly when you're going to release? I know we have lots of factors at play, but
Yes, yes. My goal is to have it. I'm going to start to batch record soon, and my goal is to kick it off after the new year, so maybe mid-January.
perfect, perfect, which is when this will likely air. So this aligns so beautifully. If you want some more of Michele in your life, go follow her on Instagram, go find her podcast. We'll make sure that we have all of those links in the show notes for everybody. I'm so excited for you. You've got such a beautiful energy and so much wisdom, and it's going to be incredible.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on your podcast and sharing me with your audience.
Yeah. Oh, my honor, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Michele. And we just appreciate all your wisdom today. So thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Having a Mom Moment podcast. Please be sure to follow and rate if you love what you're hearing. And come follow me on socials at Having a Mom Moment on Instagram or on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you, so shoot me a message if there's something you particularly loved or something you'd like to hear about on a future episode. So you can message me on either platform or send me an email at havingamamoment@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. In case no one has told you today, you are amazing, you are loved, and I am so proud of the beautiful human that you are. Take care.